Hello and welcome to Apnic 52, the day 4th of Apnic 52 conference. This is the Apnic member meeting. Thanks so much for joining today. Before I hand over the floor to Gaurav Raju Upadhyaya, he's the chair of the Apnic member meeting. Just want to go through the housekeeping notes quickly, and I'm sure you're all familiar with them, but be mindful of the code of conduct, which is published on the Apnic 52 website, as well as in the chat. And if you want to ask a question or make a comment, please raise your hand. We are using Zoom meeting. You are allowed to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. And or you put it in the chat, your question and comments. And there will be plenty of opportunity during the AMM for open mic sessions. So feel free to jump on and put your hand up or put in the chat. And we will read out your questions, or you can ask your questions and make a comment. Now, with that, I'll happy to welcome Gaurav Raju Upadhyaya, who is the chair of the Apnic EC, to chair this Apnic member meeting at Apnic 52. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Sunny. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the AMM, the Apnic members meeting at Apnic 52. Kind of glad to see all of you here. We see almost 100 participants. So thanks for joining. We've been at this for now 3 years. Obviously, or well, third time, not 3 years. Obviously, when we first went online, we kind of didn't think it'll go for so long. But now here we are. And we just need to keep going on with this until we get to a point where we can go back face to face. So before we jump into the agenda, I generally start the AMM with the introduction to all the EC members. So if I could ask our fellow EC members to be here. Oh, actually, hold on a second. Okay, I think the EC members are now being put as panelists so that they can come on the video.
We are promoting them, Gaurav, sorry.
We are still missing cams, but let's get started with the introductions here. I'll start with myself. I'm Gaurav Upadhyaya. I'm the current chair of the EC. I work for Amazon Prime Video and lead the global video delivery. I would go on the Zoom screen here. On my left is Kenny.
Okay, right. Thank you, Gaurav. This is Kenny Huang. I'm from Apnic. I'm Apnic Executive Council member and also treasurer. It's very happy to see you online, unfortunately. Thank you.
Sumon?
Hi, welcome everyone to the Apnic meeting. I'm Shonan Sabir, CTO of Amazon Limited, Bangladesh, and also chairing BDNOG. And once again, welcome to the Apnic conference.
Maz?
Hi, this is Yoshinobu Matsuzaki from IIJ. People also call me as Maz. Ishi member. Thank you very much.
Feng.
Hello, everybody. I'm Feng. I'm from Beijing and I work for Apnic. Glad to see you guys.
Achi.
Hi, Achi here. I'm from Globe Telecom, currently also the Apnic secretary. That's all.
Camps.
Hi, this is Camps here. So I've been EC member for 6 years. So I'm from Hong Kong, but currently living in Singapore. Thank you.
And then Paul.
Thanks, Garab, and hi everyone. Great to be here. I'm Paul Wilson. I'm the Director General at Apnic, and in that capacity, I sit on the Apnic EC as well. Good to see you all here.
Thank you, everyone. And as for the procedures, we have the Zoom chat. We also have the conference chat. You can type your questions there, and I'll try to address them during the open mic at the end of the sessions. And so, we'll run with the series of presentation, and then we have open mic before the first break, and then we'll have another open mic later on. And I think, Tony, we continue with this same Zoom for the second session after the break as well, right?
Correct. Yes, Gaurav.
Yeah, so we'll take a break, but you don't need to sign off from the Zoom session. We'll just reconvene back in the same Zoom shortly afterwards to continue with it. So I will not take more of your time, and I'll now invite Paul to present the Secretariat report. The Secretariat has been hard at work, even though I think one of the challenges has been that our members are very used to seeing Apnic trainers and Apnic staff, which we probably all miss. But the Secretariat has not stopped working. And in fact, there's a lot of interesting information in the Secretariat report. So Paul, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Garab. So hi everyone, I'm Paul. I'm the DG at Apnic, and I'm here to present the progress report, activity report for the Secretariat so far this year. This report, actually the figures in this report extend through to the end of July, but there have been a few updates added for your interest and to keep things more up to date. So the report is structured according to our strategic plan for 2020 to 2023. And under that plan, we've got 5 strategic pillars, which are shown here, each of them with a logo that will appear as we go through this presentation to sort of orient ourselves to each of these pillars. And under the 5 pillars, there are a total of 18 work streams, and we use these work streams to organize and report Apnic activities. So that's going to be more or less the structure of this report as I go through it. The other thing is we have what we call success measures against all of the activities under the work streams. And online these days, we've got an activity tracker which is being updated with each activity plan. Now, this has replaced the previous tracker we had for the Apnic survey. We're now tracking and reporting on our progress against the activity plan and against the success measures in the plan. So there's a lot of detail in this tracker. It shows all the work streams, all of the activities and the success measures. It shows how we're tracking against those measures numerically, but there's also a traffic light indicator against each of these success measures, which says whether that goal is either completed, in progress, or at risk. And at this time of the year, you'll see that almost all of the activities are in progress, because even if we're tracking well against the activity for this time of year, we still don't regard it as being completed yet. So there'll be a few green and a few red for activities that really have dropped off the list, but mostly things are in progress. Now, as I go through this report, I'll be highlighting some of those things where they're included in the report, but you can get more detail across the board from the activity tracker, which, as I show you here on it's available. I don't have the URL; it's quite long, but it's available via the nav menu on the Apnic website under Plans and Strategies, as you see circled on the left there. So, starting with the member services as the first work stream, this is under the membership pillar of our plan. We've hit 8,580 total direct Apnic members at the time of this report, joined by over 10,000 members of NIRs. And you see the chart on the right, which shows the total number of organisations served by Apnic directly and by NIRs. And the chart below that shows the same data, but according to the sub-regions that we recognise under the Asia Pacific. Now, we've got several metrics reported here. The service satisfaction is 80% excellent or above average out of over 500 responses. That's on track. We've got 100% response time being met on help desk queries. We've got 432 participants in the user feedback group as at the date of this report. And all the community feedback items that we have been received, that we've been receiving, have been actioned as they've been received. We've been detecting an average of just under 2 fraud cases per month. That's not actually a metric or a target, so it doesn't have the coloured traffic light next to it like a few others in this as I go through the report. The second work stream is membership products. So these are all the products that are under development and delivery at Apnic that serve members. We have a new help centre on the website that's been deployed fully, but improvements are ongoing in terms of the content that's available through the help centre. We have selected a platform called Tribe for what we call the community online platform. That's in pilot at the moment. It's got 7 community spaces in it at the moment, and more than 250 users are currently participating in the trial, and we hope to have a result of that trial by the end of the year. My Apnic has had some improvements, particularly to the billing section on invoice management and receipt management, and a little bit more on registry operations, which you'll see later. But we're also migrating many of the My Apnic functions from Perl to Java for better performance and reliability. We've got a new testing infrastructure for membership products and others that was used for the election system and for updates to membership forms. We've also upgraded the election system for SIG and Nrc elections, which have happened here at Apnic 52 this week. Moving on to registration services, here are some kind of traditional charts of the resource activities during the course of the year so far, compared with what's been going on over the previous 10 years as well. So on IPv4, with the projection shown in red, we look like exceeding the IPv4 allocation levels from the past few years. IPv6 is roughly the same. It's kind of up and down from year to year recently. My apologies, just back to that one. The ASNs at the bottom, we've got a big jump there with a large allocation of ASNs to an ISP in China, to CERNET in China, for the re-architecture of their entire network that serves the university sector in China. We haven't projected the ASNs for this year because of that anomaly in the charts, but you can see we've been pretty busy in terms of numbers there as well. Moving on into transfers. Transfers are quite erratic in terms of both the size and the number of transfers. The first chart here at the top left is the number of mergers and acquisitions, which is one type of transfer, varying between 5 and say 25 per month over the last 12 months. The market transfers are operating at between 20 and 120 transfers per month during the last 12 months. The inter-RIR transfers at the bottom are lower, between 10 and say 25 per month. The actual size of those transfers varies a fair bit, but you can see, for instance, in inter-regional transfers, several hundred per month, which varies quite a lot. And we had a couple of large merger and acquisitions and market transfers earlier in this 12-month period. some other activities under registration services. The IRT email validation is going on very actively. We've hit a rate of exceeding 71% of IRT emails validated continually at the moment. We're working on NRO-defined reporting of what ICANN has called the Identifier Technology Health Indicators. So that's a set of registry health indicators, data health indicators, which we're working on with the NRO. We're also working hard on reclaiming unadvertised IPv4 addresses. We're about halfway through this activity, which involves, as you see summarized here, 293 prefixes in total. And of those, about half of them are either being claimed by the prefix holder, or they've already been claimed by the prefix holder, or 24% of the total has been returned to Apnic. That's 484,000 addresses, roughly about a /13 of IPv4 has come back to Apnic as a result of this activity. And we're still only halfway through, so we're yet to contact, and we're receiving no response from around half of the prefix holders that are identified there. Further on registry products, I've been talking a bit this year about the next generation of Apnic registry products, sort of an indication of where Apnic is going into the future in terms of registry services. So a part of that is API access to registry operations, and there's an NIR API that's been under implementation and is launching in Q4 this year. And that'll be followed next year by more generic general APIs for access to registry functions for the membership, for the general membership. The Rpki repository, as Tom reported this week, has been made entirely atomic to avoid inconsistency in transactions. We've continued deployment of Apnic's RDAP services to the GCP. And actually, ICANN reported just recently that Apnic, that of all the RIRs, Apnic's RDAP is the fastest. And they noted because of the distribution on the Google Cloud platform there. The NRO RDAP profile has been finalized this year. That's the profile under which all of the RIRs will be publishing RDAP information. That's been published in the IANA registry, and we'll be implementing against that in the first quarter next year. Implemented improvements to MyApnic's management of route objects and rowers, which is a great improvement to that interface for members. On the back end, ARMS is the Apnic registry management system. It's been improved and is considerably faster. We've also, sort of more on the back end, started design work on how the next generation registry should look like from the back end implementation standpoint. Now, moving on to the next pillar here, the development pillar. So Apnic Conferences is the first under that, and many of you would have been at Apnic 51, the first 100% online apricot, which was held earlier this year. So it had over 400 attendees at tutorials, over 550 in conference week, and so it was pretty successful. Apnic 52 is looking pretty good too. That's the third 100% online Apnic conference, and as of half an hour ago, the total registrations for this meeting were quite astronomical, 1,629 in total, with 687 unique conference attendees so far. So that's pretty good, and I thank everyone for showing an interest in the Apnic online conference this week. We've had a couple of new facilities, the Comet Chat and Otter.ai for automatic transcription, which has gone pretty well. Still not quite as good as our human transcription service that we've used previously, but we've moved into automated transcription from this point onwards. And this time around, we've also had an extended online fellowship program, which I'd like to say a few things about here. That's been a program over the last 6 months, actually, concluding this week at Apnic 52. There were technical and policy and internet governance presentations for the selected fellows. There were 25 mentors. Thank you to the mentors who volunteered from the community. But we had 46 fellows, 24 male, 24 female, 22 male. We had 85% attendance by those fellows at all of these quite rigorous activities over the last 6 months that included 106 academy courses which are undertaken by the fellows. And this group of fellows has got a graduation this week, and congratulations to all of them on that great work. Moving on into policy development, we just had one proposal approved and implemented at the first meeting this year. That was Prop 133. We held a community policy consultation meeting in March. We formed a policy document review working group, and 44 participants joined that working group to help to improve the overall policy documentation for Apnic. And as you may know, because it's just finished, we had 7 policy proposals discussed and voted on, or we had the consensus measures on 7 of those, and we'll hear more about that later in this meeting. Community engagement is really going still very strongly in spite of it being almost all entirely online. There are 184 engagements that we've measured during this year. That's mostly the different meetings and other online events that have been participated by or conducted by Apnic. And those, I won't go into it, but these engagements are measured across in terms of the types of engagement, which are illustrated here. As you see, most of them are training engagements, but also on a month basis and on a geographic basis. We're tracking these things very carefully these days to see where our Apnic staff attention is needed and where we might need to be and need to go to provide the best engagement with community members. On the other side is participation, and participation by the Apnic community in Apnic community activities this year has been, of course, also online, but we've been tracking that as well, and 473 participants in the first meeting this year, plus 84 online consultations. We've upgraded SIG guidelines to help with that process. Held quarterly meetings this year of the elected community representatives to help, for instance, in planning for this meeting, encouraging newcomers across the conference attendance, blog, subscription activities, Twitter followers, LinkedIn followers. All of these things are being tracked and measured these days to make sure that we're hitting the marks and doing as much as we can on, in this case, on community participation in Apnic activities. The chart on the right is the amount of engagement in the Apnic website, which is pretty constant and pretty high volume these days. I've got a few slides on different communities that we engage with from Apnic staff. Here we've got the technical computer and security community, 19 events, including 9 NOGs, 20 different security community events in addition, plus 8 security training sessions and presentations at community security events, as well as 5 HoneyNet project engagements. On internet organizations, these are what we might call the iStars, the RIRs, and the other internet community organizations. We're participating as much as we can, of course, as usual, in all RIR meetings, all online these days, of course. The NRO has got a number of groups, the Executive Council and coordination groups, which are also meeting online. We've joined as usual, the Internet Technical Community Group, the ICANN meetings, 70, 71, the DNS Symposium, IETF meetings, ICANN committees, including the Root Governance Working Group, the Root Zone Evolution Working Group, and also the Stability and Security Advisory Committee, which Jeff Houston joins. We've got a joint research project with LACNIC as well, which is a study that's underway at the moment on the Internet's technical success factors. And that's something which we hope to launch at the IGF meeting later this year. And talking about IGF and Internet governance, there will be a global online IGF meeting. We're engaging in the form of session proposals. There have been 3 proposals Apnic has been involved with, have been submitted and accepted. And Apnic staff member Joyce Chen is a member of the Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group and of the Executive Committee of the Support Association. And Joyce has been very busy with those things. The regional IGF has been actively under preparation for a meeting coming up, and what we call the national and regional initiatives, which include regional, the Pacific IGF, and national events such as the Australian Hong Kong and Bangladesh events that we have been waving the Apnic and Internet community flags at. Government engagement, often through organisations like ITU and the APT, many activities in which we are reaching out to governments, promoting the role of the RARs of Apnic, of IP addressing in their interest in the internet, in internet governance. We have OECD, APEC-TEL, and an increasing number of security community workshops, including, for instance, Interpol's Global Cyber Crime Expert Group and other Interpol forums that Apnic participates in. The Apnic Academy, Chi Hu spoke at some length about this in the products and services session yesterday. Of course, all of our training has been online due to COVID, but we are reaching out and actively working to develop what's called the Apnic Community Trainers Network. There are 28 community trainers in that network now, and 22 of them were engaged during the first part of this year for 53 different training events. So that's a great contribution to Apnic's training activity, and thanks to all those community trainers. We've got several new courses, new content that's listed here for network management and monitoring, automation. We've got new courses, new course updates, and new virtual labs also that have been rolled out, as well as new language support for Bengali and Mongolian during the course of this year. Some technical assistance support has been given to 22 members where that's been requested on deployment of Rpki, on some network design and IEXP design activities as well. We have a technical assistance feature that is being launched under the Apnic Academy later on in this quarter that will help people to meet other people who can help them with technical assistance in the Apnic community. Rpki, a big priority. It's one of the aspects of the next generation registry, as I mentioned before. 14 Rpki training events. We've seen a pretty healthy increase in ROA adoption, Rpki in general, and ROA adoption by Apnic members, up from 58 to 75% in terms of ROA adoption this year, which is a great increase, 45 to 50% increase with Rpki certification. And then we also feel we helped to achieve a high level of ROA coverage in several economies in Pakistan, Maldives, Tonga, Nepal this year. There's a new ROA deployment measurement tool on labs, so you can see the map on the right is from that tool, and there's a lot more data that's available there on the URL that's visible, and it shows very variable but also quite a healthy level of ROA deployment in many of the economies of the Asia Pacific. On IPv6, we continue to do what members ask us to do in terms of promoting IPv6, 11 online IPv6 tutorials this year, with focus in several different economies. A big success story in China Telecom's IPv6 deployment that's joined 40 different deployment stories available on the Apnic blog. 34.64% IPv6 capability across the region. And there's some really significant gains in the largest economies. So India's at 75, Vietnam at 45, Japan at 38, China now at 18, which is a significant improvement in China as a result of the China Telecom developments. Internet infrastructure support, we're working on IXPs, working on deployment of RIPE Atlas Anchor hosts and probes. MRoot servers are being deployed in cooperation with Wide Project in quite a number of locations. And we're also continuing to grow the community HoneyNet, which is gathering a lot of valuable data on security threats in the region. Now, I've mentioned quite a few projects here particularly under the development pillar. And several of these projects have received extra funding this year through the Apnic Foundation. I just wanted to give a snapshot of that. We had a total budget here of over $3 million across 5 projects in which Apnic was involved, which received foundation funding. The forecast for our actual spending there is quite a bit less, unfortunately, and that's got to do with our priority at Apnic to keep building our internal capacity to undertake the development work that we are able to, or we're being asked to do these days, and that will only improve as time goes on into next year. Now, much of the funding for those activities have come through a new development, which is the Asia Pacific Internet Development Trust. And I just wanted to provide the snapshot here of what that trust structure looks like. So the WIDE project and Apnic together are the guardians and also members of the Asia Pacific Internet Development Trust. That's a trust that's governed by a deed of trust, which governs the allocation of that trust, or the dedication of that trust to internet development in our region. And funding is starting to come from that trust for a couple of different areas of activity. One is the Apnic Foundation, as I've already mentioned. Some of that funding is coming back to Apnic in terms of involvement in or implementation of projects which have an ultimate benefit for the community membership, and through an infrastructure component of the trust to supporting research and education networking. Now, there's more information about the APIDT available on the website with a URL just there. Now, I'll move on quickly into the information pillar of Apnic operations. We've got the Apnic blog, which is continuing to attract a lot of views. It passed a milestone of 3 million views all time in June. Our information products provided to the community include REX, the Resource Explorer, which used to be the Internet Directory, Dash, the dashboard for AES Health, which now provides a feature for recurring reports to anyone who wants to see those, to be reminded, for instance, of honeynet traffic that might be originating in your networks. NetOx is our version of the RIPE Stats tool, which has got some new developments this year as well. Research and analysis, Jeff Houston continues at an even greater rate than usual. He seems to enjoy online presentation and activities. The 19 different presentations at different events out of Jeff's area so far this year, a whole lot of blog posts and a whole lot of research being undertaken on a number of different topics, which most of us are familiar with. But interestingly, there's quite a bit of that is being done cooperatively with ISOC for Manners, with ICANN on ITHI, with Cloudflare on the 1.1.1.1 initiative. Quite a bit of work on internal technical infrastructure in terms of architectural and technical coordination within the organization, network and infrastructure operations, particularly better connectivity into the Apnic POPs for access to Apnic from any part of the region, a number of system and platform improvements, a lot on security operations, enterprise application management, and our service availability is currently sitting at 4 nines, 99.99% for critical and 99.98% for non-critical, and we will be attempting to improve that up towards 5 nines in the next year. Coming to the end now, under finance and employee experience, we conducted our annual audit as usual earlier in 2021 for the 2020 accounts. That was given a green light by Deloitte. We are undergoing external surveillance auditing for ISO 9001 as well, and that was completed. We're also undergoing a readiness and a gap analysis for ISO 27001, by the way. The COVID-19 response has been a big part of our work and our agile adaptation during the course of the last year, with working from home and working from the office and a hybrid working model involving all Apnic staff there. We've been rolling out agile to non-technical teams. 5 out of 9 non-technical teams at Apnic have taken up agile in addition to the tech teams, of course. Quite a bit of activity in casual, in permanent casual roles being filled at Apnic, with 2 new directors appointed in services and finance. That's Carla Scarter and Nathan Harvey. Our total staff turnover is just 5.1% so far in this year, which is within benchmarks. And we've also undertaken an architectural and structural review of our place requirements because we're getting pretty full at the Secretariat these days. So I have just about stuck to time, and I'll finish there, but hopefully there'll be time for questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions anytime now or later. Back to you. I'll hand back to you now, Gareth. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. As I said earlier, we'll take questions at the end, but feel free to type your questions in the chat room and we can address them all together at the end. Thank you, Paul, once again. Thank you to all of the Secretariat staff who keep the engine running for Apnic. Thank you very much. The next up is Treasury Report, and Kenny is our treasurer. So over to you, Kenny.
Gaurav, sorry, this is Sunny. I thought there's Sanjay's report after Paul.
Okay.
Yes, I'm supposed to.
Yeah,
report
okay. I
on-
thought that was going to be part of Paul's report. So yeah, thanks, Sunny, for correcting. We do have a special report from Sanjay on an incident that
Yes.
happened earlier this year, and anybody who's been affected by it probably got notification by now, like I was notified. So over to you, Sanjay.
Thanks, Gaurav. Right, so back in June, we had an incident related to the Whois dump file being exposed accidentally, and I wrote a blog post about it and then promised an update at the Apnic 52. So this is the update. So I'll just go through the what happened, what did we do in terms of corrective actions, preventive actions, communication we did, and finally the lessons learned. What happened was we received a vulnerability report on the 4th of June that one of our Google storage bucket that is supposed to be private, so it's actually publicly accessible. It's not easily accessible, but through guesswork, you might be able to find that bucket. And thanks to the security researcher who reported this to us. So we immediately look at all the buckets and realize that the one bucket actually contains the Whois database dump file that was put there for testing purposes. So the bucket was configured incorrectly, that it's supposed to be private, but it was public. Now, this error has happened for 3 months. And then we asked, unfortunately, Google only have the log for the last 2 weeks, and we had a look at the log, and thankfully, there's no evidence of access of that file in the last 2 weeks logs, and there's no other evidence that it has been discovered by people. But we want to be assume the worst, and so we take it really seriously, and because the content could be quite sensitive. It's actually quite sensitive. So there are two main content in that file that is sensitive. One is there is a IRT and maintainer password hashes. Now it's hashes, not in plain text, so but it is prone for to dictionary attack. And the second sensitive information is there is some private objects in that Whois dump of private objects that is created pre-October 27. I'll explain what private objects is in the next slide. And also, after further analysis, we saw that some of the private object in the right condition, because of some bug in our RDEP and Whois, could also be exposed. So we have to look at that more carefully. So just explaining what private Whois object is. So our members actually, when they go to my Apnic and want to make a delegation and register, let's say, their assignment, a customer assignment or something, they go into my Apnic and is able to choose whether they want that customer assignment be publicly visible on Whois or just put it in the private WIS. The reason why they record those assignments in my Apnic is because it in the past, where getting more IPv4 needs evidence that you have used your previous allocation up to 80%. That's the way the Apnic staff checks whether their previous allocation has been used up to 80%. So people have been adding customer assignments in there, and some of them are public, but some of them are private. And the reason why the private, some of the private objects pre-October 27 is in that public WIS database is because prior to October 2017, when we create the private WIS, we actually have to create it in the public WIS first to check for syntax, to check for referential integrity, checking whether the admin C and tax C are actually there. And once it passed, then we delete it from public WIS and then move it to the private database. But after October 2017, we found a better way to do it without having to create the private object first in the public WIS. So that explains why those old private WIS object is in this particular database. So what we did is in corrective action is on the first exposure, the IRT and maintainer password hash. What we did was obviously remove the WIS dump file from the bucket, fix the bucket configuration error, and all IRT and maintainer password were reset. Now, if it's my Apnic user, it's transparent to them, but for those who still use email update, there are not many of them. We notify them individually that, hey, we have changed your password, and then so they can adjust. For the private objects, simply the corrective action is to remove the private objects from the WIS database. But we realized that the corrective action is not enough. We really need to prevent this being exploited, even though there is no evidence of exploitation, but we really want to prevent it happening. So on the password hashes, the new password is using a stronger hash algorithm that is less, that is harder to be attacked. And also we look at the email updates, making sure that we don't see any anomaly, indication that someone has cracked the password and then start sending bogus updates. Thankfully, we don't see anything there. On the private objects, we immediately patched the RDEP service, and also WHOIS service was taken offline until 30th of August while we removed the private object database. We also asked our legal team to look at a possible PII breach. We don't know what's in the private objects, making sure that there's no personally identifiable information, and thankfully we don't see it. In terms of communication, for the RT and maintainer password, we published a blog that you can see in that link there. But on the private objects, we cannot write a blog post because we are the primary concern is to minimize the member risk from disclosure. So we, instead of doing it on blog, we actually reach out to the affected accounts and tell them those with large number of private objects, we call them individually, about 10 of them, and the rest, they only have small number of private objects. We just email them, but with a clear action on what they need to do. And also we promised an update at Apnic 52, which is this presentation. So what was the lessons learned? So this is a big lesson for us. It is really embarrassing for Apnic. I know we felt really bad for doing this. Well, thankfully, there's no negative impact of this exposure, but we know that we need to do better. So the lessons learned is in data security. So number one is we really must not use production data in testing. So now developer has restricted access to production database. And in cloud storage configuration, making sure that we no longer make a mistake. If it's a public, if it's private, then it needs to be configured as private. And we implement the best cloud security practice. On the registry architecture, I think part of the exposure, possible exposure here is because we're still using old technologies, like allowing people to update through, through email, for example. So that really needs to be changed with more modern technique with API and more proper credential checking. And also in software development practice, we really need to look at the data source. So when, for example, when we launched the WHOOS, we should have really carefully look at the data source and make sure that there is nothing there that is commercial sensitive data or PII data. And had we done that, then we wouldn't have as exposed as we are now. So that's all I wanted to report. I hope I'm really appreciative of the members who we reach out and actually quite happy that we reach out quickly and promptly and help them close the exposure, and also the support from all the Apnic staff and also the EC member for encouraging us, keep on encouraging us to do better. And apologize once more for this mistake. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. Again, even on this topic, we will take questions, and then I do see some questions there on the chat. So we'll request the audience to put that question towards the open mic. Next up is, as I said, it is going to be, thank you, Sanjay, and thank you for the team for handling this. Next up would be Kenny, who is going to present the Treasurer's Report. Kenny Huang.
Okay, right. Thank you, Kara. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you see the screen? Hello, can you see the screen?
Not yet, Kenny.
Hold on. Can you see
Now
that?
we can see it.
Okay, right. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kenny Huang, Apnic Executive Council member and Treasurer. I'm very grateful to be here to give you the Treasury Report. The Treasury Report was split into two parts. The first part will be until end of July, year 2021, year-to-date financial report. Second part will be the activity report. So let's move to the first part, until end of July 2021, year-to-date financial report. This page showed a quick summary about a key measure at the end of July. Our equity position increased by 30% until date in 2021. Our revenue tracking slightly below budget. Full year focus up to 2% below budget. Our expenses tracking also well below the budget. A full year forecast will be 11% below budget. Our surplus year to date at $4.4 million. The focus will be $4.7 million. Year to date, we have 1 million cash transfer into investment portfolio. Year to date cash flow will be around 1 million. In addition to 1 million transfer to investment portfolio, our activity expenditure below budget estimate due to COVID-19 restriction. Our member growth tracking below budget. We have 240 net member versus 329 budget net members. So that's the statement of financial position. And year to date in 2021, our total current asset will be $15,928,000. Most of them are cash or cash equivalent. And we have non-current asset. Altogether, total asset will be $56,483,000. Liability, we have, year to date, we have total current liability will be $16,262,000. All of the current liability will be unearned revenue. And put it together, we have net asset will be $38,602,000. Compared to last year, that will be 4.4 million growth. That's our operating surplus by the end of July. Our total revenue by the end of July will be $15,254,000. Our total expenses will be $12,013,000, and including some of the operating surplus that put together, our surplus will be $4,425,000. That's until end of July. That's revenue part. Until end of July, our membership fee, we have $14,072,000. Most of our revenue stream come from the membership fee. And so total revenue will be $15,254,000. That's until end of July. That's comparison for our membership growth. Until end of July, our total membership will be 8,581 members. And this page shows our membership allocate into different categories. The yellow one will be, you can see most of our members will be very small or small member. So that's the membership movement by economy. Our top 3 new member economy will be Bangladesh, Australia, Hong Kong, and thanks to Bangladesh, Australia, and Hong Kong. And top 3 closed membership economy is Australia, Hong Kong, and China. That's a major reason that caused membership closure. There are several categories. The most come from non-payment. The second will be a voluntary member closure. And the third one will be a market transfer. The last one, the fourth one will be merge and acquisition. So that's a statement of income on the expenses side. Most of our expenses are professional fee and also salary or personnel expenses. So total expenses until end of July will be $12,013,000. Including communication expenses, the forecast, we have $245,000 below budget. Contribution to Apnic Foundation, that will be $560,000 below budget. Meeting and training expenses, that would be $350,000 below budget. Professional fee will be $217,000 below budget. And sponsorship or publicity will be $156,000 below budget. And travel will be the major item, forecast $977,000 below budget. Main reason will be the COVID-19 restriction. Our capital expenditure, we have been allocated for around $2 million for office furniture and fitting. But because the comprehensive furniture is not likely foreseeable, so until end of July, total capital expenditure will be $294,000. Let's come to Apnic reserve. You can see our capital reserve. Majority of our capital reserve will be financial asset, and part of it will be property, and also we have cash as well. Our financial stability measure until 2021 forecast will be 18 months. The number of months of expense covered by equity will be 18.3 months. That already reached our strategic goal, and because Apnic EC had running strategic plan, identify one of critical stability measure as a strategic goal, and our target goal would be 18 months. And right now it seems going to reach our strategic goal. Okay, the second part will be year-to-date activity report. Our activity budget report will be expense was categorized by pillar. We have 5 pillars. The first pillar will be membership. Second pillar will be registry service. And third pillar will be development. The fourth pillar will be information service and product and service. The last one were capabilities. And you can see all the expense split into the 5 pillars, how they distribute, how we categorize our expenses. Last capex by different pillar. Also in capex was split into the 5 pillar. You can see the detail. Okay, I'm happy to take any question. If you want to see any financial report, you can go to the apnic.net/transparency to get all the financial and all the detailed information. Thank you. Back to you, Garrett.
Thank you, Kenny. Once again, we'll take questions during the open mic. And now actually it's my turn to present the Apnic EC report. And I think Sen is going to help me get that slide up there. Thank you. I'll be presenting the Apnic EC report today. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get it myself. Next slide, please. As we saw earlier, we have, this is the current composition of the EC. We are 7 elected members from amongst the membership. And then Paul is our Director General and the ex officio on the Executive Council. We went through the introductions earlier, so I'll skip that part. But you know, all of the EC members are online today, and you can put the questions for us as it goes. Next slide, Sen. Thank you. The role of the EC is very well defined in the Apnic bylaws. We represent the interest of our members in the governance of Apnic. We have oversight on Apnic's activities. We consider broad policy issues for Apnic's strategic direction. And yes, we set the membership fees. And then when the community has consensus on policy, address policy, we move that towards implementation, or we send it back to the community if we think that it is not implementable as written. Next slide, please. We have 4 meetings a year. We have had 3 meetings held since the last AMM. I mean, as I said, generally we meet. We traditionally have met 4 times a year face to face, 2 times during our Apnic conference, and Rpki obviously, and then 2 times in between. But once we've gone virtual, we have also done a few on-demand meetings. And since the last AMM or the last meeting, along with Rpki, we've had 3 EC meetings. We also had a joint board meeting with the Apnog board last week. Apnog board organizes Rpki, and obviously Apnog Rpki is a key partner for us. So we meet with them regularly. And since the last year's first virtual meeting, we kicked off a discussion group of all our community leaders, basically all the elected leaders of different SIGs, NRNC, Nrc, the Apnic EC, the Apnic board, Apnog board, on a quarterly basis, because in the past we would meet on the corridors of the conference hall, or we would have different interactions on different topics, like the next meeting, the topics of interest. And then we realized that that was not happening. So we have started meeting again, even though virtually. It doesn't quite replace the same interactions we had face to face, but I think it brings us together so that we can keep doing what we're doing for the overall making internet better in our region. If you are more interested in our meetings and the minutes and everything else, they are all available on the website, apnic.net/ec. You can always go and find them there. Next slide. We had the 3 meetings, as I said earlier, and obviously it was all virtual, and we had perfect attendance, and those are the dates of the 4 meetings. As you see, we tend to meet for 2 days because of the time zones, whereas in past we may have met only for a single day during a conference. And we also met last week. Generally we would meet during the conference in person, but now we've made some slight flexibility around it. Next slide, please. So the key thing about the EC this year is we have been reviewing our 4-year strategic plan that was developed in 2019 for the 2020 to 2023 period. We do go through that exercise every 4 years. And if you've noticed, as of last year, the Secretariat report has changed. We've added a bunch of pillars or changed the way we do it. And so part of the strategic review is we also take inputs or the feedback we receive through the membership survey and make any changes or improve upon the existing plan during this review. Right now it's ongoing because we are in the 2nd year of that, 2023. So in the next meeting, we will look at updating specific sections of it. And I think for the next 2 years, we'll be especially focused on how we work better with the APIDT and the Apnic Foundation. Because when the strategic plan was conceptualized and formed in 2019, those were not big factors, and now they are. And so we'll be looking at that in the coming 3 to 4 months, and we will share the updated strategic plan by the Apnic 53. Next slide, please. I mentioned the survey earlier. We run a survey every 2 years, and as I said, the survey feeds into our strategic planning exercise for the EC. Every 2 years, it is done independently and anonymously. We hire an external company to do it. They've been doing it for us for a few years now. They gather feedback from members and community about our performance, priorities, and future activities, and those feed directly into our strategic plans. We are currently in the planning stages for survey, which will happen in 2022. It is going to be similar as before. There'll be a set of qualitative interviews followed by quantitative survey. What that means is the first part of it will involve one-to-one interviews or one-to-multi group interviews or sessions. which previously would have been face-to-face interaction in a small group. Now it is going to be virtual, and then we'll do the online survey for all the members and stakeholders and the community. We will be approving the survey for next year in our meeting in December this year. Next slide. We just heard from Kenny on the finances. We are still pretty good. We are expecting the membership fees forecast to be in line with our budget expectations. We're at 8,581 members by the end of July, which is a pretty stable number. We do have a 2021 year to date, as in that means that until the end of August, operating surplus exceeds full year budget by 1.7 million. What that means is our operating surplus for this year is 1.7 million above what our expenses are. We have both revenue and expenses tracking below budget. A large part of that is COVID, because we don't have revenues with events and sponsorship, but we also don't have expenditure because we don't have events and travel and things like that. A lot of effort has gone into spending money and making sure that we are compliant with COVID and COVID-friendly work environment and so on, but we're still in a pretty good shape. We are currently in the process of looking at the budget for next year. We'll be working on that with the Secretariat and the finance team in the next few months. It is a pretty tricky business right now because we just don't know how we come out of the COVID situation. Even though our costs are lower, or well, we have saved some money, the indications are that we will see a raise in cost around events and travel and things like that in the coming years. So we will save the budget at the next meeting, but we'll have to take a bunch of assumptions around how the economy will change after the end, or well, hopefully after the COVID pandemic is under control. Next slide, please. We had, or we have, I think we have, I said we had, we'll have the results in the next AMM session. We had the Nro 6 chairs and Nrc elections. We appointed Kuewu as the election chair, and Connie and Andrev as election officers for the Nro elections, and Sunny Chandy of the Apnic Secretariat as the election officer for the 6 chairs and Nrc elections. And we endorsed the election procedures. Now, in the past, the 6-chair elections and the RC elections have been done as a show of hands within the SIG meetings. And obviously, when we went virtual, we had to kind of figure out and put in guidelines in place that would continue with the spirit of the same approach, but could be done online. So we finalized the procedures and we've done it this time. So we'll continue with that. Nro NC elections were already had a pretty well established online voting mechanism, so we didn't really have to change much. But the new process, hopefully it's worked, and I invite some discussion on that in the open mic later today. The next one is policies. We endorsed one policy, which was Prop 133, clarification of sub-assignments. It's been implemented and was updated in the policy SIG earlier today. Thank you to the community for participation and the policy SIG chairs for driving that, and the proposal author for putting it together. Next one. I spoke about Apnic in the opening of Apnic 52 2 days ago. It is an ongoing topic. We thought that we should make a clear statement to our members. If you're not aware, then Apnic is involved in a legal dispute with Cloud Innovation, and that is ongoing in the Mauritius court. Part of that was the Mauritius court froze Apnic accounts initially, and then now it has allowed to operate on a monthly operating budget, which means that Apnic has access to the bank accounts to keep operating as they have in the past. Like they can pay the salaries, they can pay the rent, and so on and so forth. So they are not in a dire straits yet. A few years ago, before this situation was even envisioned, the RIRs got together and we created a Nro Stability Fund, which can be activated when any of the RIRs feel the need for it. At that point of time, Apnic made a commitment that we would commit up to 5% of our balance sheet equity to that fund if needed. And that number works out to be around 1.9 million Australian dollar today. We would look at contributing that amount if needed. But right now, as the treasurer of Nro, Aaron will actually process all of that through their secretariat, and Apnic would be paying into that fund. What is important to note here is that the Nro Stability Fund is not a grant, but more like a loan. And the expectation is that the loan will get repaid back to Apnic and the other RIRs as the RIR gets stable or the emergency is over. So we are on that. We are actively following this. This is critical for the RIR system, that the RIR stays stable and infrastructure is not harmed. But we are collaborating with all the other RIRs through the Nro and the Nro community groups to make sure that we keep an eye on this and provide support as and when needed, and as requested by the Apnic community. And as we see, or if we ever activate the Nro Stability Fund, we'll make sure the communications are sent out to the membership. Next slide, please. Again, towards the end, we always welcome member feedback. If you are Apnic member, there is always a EC submission form in My Apnic. You can go there. There is a contact form in the Apnic website, and obviously on the chat room during the conference, Zoom chat rooms, private chat rooms, or by going to apnic.net/EC. Always welcome feedback, and you can contact your any of the EC members directly as well through various social media as well, because I think we're all on some of them, if not all of them, by now. Next slide. Thank you very much. I think now I open up for open mic, and how much time we have? We are 7 minutes late, so we still have another 15 minutes for open mic. I open the floor for any questions or discussions. Before that, let me quickly scan through the chat room to see if there is anything there. There was some questions around data breach, which I think were answered. There was a question around expenditure occurred for COVID-19, which also seems to be answered there, unless Simon, if it is not answered, then please feel free to raise your hand. Okay, I think we answered the questions on the chat room. So I am opening up the floor. I do see Philip already there and raising his hand, but Philip, I'll ask you to wait a few more minutes and see if there is any questions on any of the presentations that we just did. The Secretariat report, the EC report, and the Treasury report, and the security update. Okay, I think I'm not seeing any feedback. There is a feedback saying, please make sure the AMM is in the meeting format and not in the panel format. Feedback taken. I think that's what we did for the policy 6, but I guess the AMM was set to this format. A question for the Apnic operator there. Any hands raised that we need to get on here or nothing there? I don't see any hands raised.
No, Gaurav, no hands raised.
Okay, in that case, I will invite Philip. I think he raised his hand, and Philip, I guess you want to talk about the next Rpki.
Yes, Gaurav, how did you think? How did you guess? Thank you very much. So as you were mentioning in your report, the Apnic EC meets with the Apnog board fairly regularly. We met last week, as you mentioned. And part of that discussion that we had last week was about the rotation of the annual Apricot conference, and of course the mid-year Apnic conference around the 4 sub-regions of our region. And so when we met in December last year, we agreed to pause the rotation, I think, as most of the participants will know, with the idea of reviewing it in September this year. Well, that happened last week. And I think, well, as should be no surprise to anybody at all, the EC and the Apnog board agreed that there's no way that we could resume the rotation. So next year's certainly Apricot 2022 will be a virtual event. We felt that it was just not possible or even appropriate to attempt to host a physical meeting in February next year. So what this means is that Apricot 2022 will be a virtual event. We'll be holding this in partnership with the Bangladesh Internet community. So the ISP Association of Bangladesh will be our host. We're very excited about that, even though it is only a virtual event. It will still be the Apricot that we all know and love. And we hope to see many of the participants here at Apnic 52, if not all of the participants at Apnic 52, come and join us with the Bangladesh community at Apricot 2022 in February next year. And hopefully for 2023, we can hold a physical event. And if that's the case, the Philippine community, PHNOG, will be back on the hook to help us with that. So we hope for a much better COVID circumstance as quickly as possible, and certainly by early next year, to enable us to make that decision in September of next year. And that was all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philip, for that update. And yes, we work closely with the Apnog board. I think both the Apnic board and the Apnic EC are disappointed that we can't meet face to face, but we also realize that it is the reality of the situation right now for us. And if the situation improves or how it goes, pretty sure that you'll hear from the Secretariat of APNOG, Apricot, Apnic as we make progress on this topic. But, you know, we will be doing the next Apricot in virtual collaboration with the community in Bangladesh. So we look forward to that. Philip, thank you so much. Any other questions from the community here? If not, maybe we have a short break here. Is that what we're looking at?
Gaurav, election results, Gaurav. Whoever is waiting.
Okay,
please.
I think the election results were in the next session. But I see Kuewu is here.
We were supposed to announce at 3:15 UTC +8.
Okay, so this is announced at 3:15. Let me see. Yep. So I would then invite our election officer Kuewu to come in, and, you know, first of all, thank you, Kuewu, for being the election officer and running this virtual election completely. Please go ahead. I hand it off to Kuewu.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. This is Kuewu, and I was at Apnic EC from 1999 to 2010, and is happy to be served as the election chair for Apnic community this time. And pleased to announce the election result. I just received about 30 minutes ago. And I also happy to advise by the scrutineer, Chapika, and also the Madevi. And they witnessed the voting download process. And there was no issue or unknownness of the report. And as I heard from the clerk, there's no dispute too. So here the following, I'm going to go in the list. I think the list is quite long. Okay. The first one is the Nrc election. The turnout going the NRO number council member. The FDL will end by the December 31st, 2021. And at the end of the nomination period, the DMA was the only confirmed nominees. Therefore, the community election is a field seat was no longer required since only one nomination submitted for these elections. So I'm pleased to declare the DMA is elected to be the NROEC, and congratulations for the DMA. Okay, and so finish the NRC, and I'm going to the sixth chair. There's so many of them. Okay. First of all, is for the policy sixth chair, the Bertrand Chevalier, and as we know, there is only one nominees, and the poll is came out just saying just about 30 minutes ago. The candidates say yes. The community vote is 40, and no is only 1. So the total vote is 41. That means Bertrand Chevalier is elected as policy sixth chair. The next one is a policy sixth chair co-chair. As a poll close, that the candidates say yes is 32, and then 5 say no. The total vote is 37. So Shaila Shamin is elected as SIG co-chair. The next one is the Nro SIG chair. As I received the result, the voting result, the On Nguyen is the only one candidate. And from the voting result, 40 of them say yes, and no one say no. So that means On Nguyen is elected as NIR chair, as SIG chair. The next one is a corporation SIG chair. And as we receive the result, 41 vote go to the Joyce Chen, and 8 vote go to the Anupan Agawa. So the total vote is 49. Also, congratulations for the Joy Chen is re-elected as a corporation SIG chair again. The next one is a routing security SIG co-chair. And as I received the voting result, there's a 31 vote for Afifa Abbas, and 28 for Dima, 25 for Terry Suissa, and total vote is a 484. So in that case, Afifa Abba, I think he's re-elected. So he's a security SIG co-chair. The next one is a Nrc election. And that is a 37 votes go to the Jinghen Gu, and 12 votes go to the Anupa Agawa, and then 2 votes to the Kame Kipi. So the total vote is 51. So Gu Jinghen is elected. So this is the whole result of the voting process, and I think congratulations for all the elected person, and hopefully the other people you can continue to nominate in the next term. Thank you very much. This is my report.
Thank you, Kuewu. As usual, always good to have you back. And thank you for helping run our first virtual SIG chair elections.
I'm still in the quarantine.
Okay. Your background looks really nice if you are there for quarantine. But thank you, and thank you to everyone who participated in the election, the candidates, those who did the vote counting, and all the community that participated in it. I think we are running about 15-20 minutes late. So let's take a quick 10-minute break, 10 to 15, let's say 15 minutes break. And then we reconvene back in the same Zoom session. We will not have to terminate this. We'll just come back to the same one in 15 minutes at basically 45 minutes past for most of the world. From now, yeah. I say most of the world because in some parts of the world it'll probably be different, but 45 minutes past the hour, we'll be back here.
Hi, Gaurav, are you there?
I think we can get
Start,
this.
please.
We can resume and restart again.
Yep, thank you, Gaurav.
Thanks, everyone. Hopefully, people got enough time to reset. We will continue with the second AMM session. The first, I would like to invite Bertrand to present the policy SIG report, and also congratulations to him for being elected as the policy SIG chair. Bertrand, you've got 7 minutes. Bertrand is not around yet, Sonny?
He is coming now to the panelist. Thanks.
Okay. Can we also look at Amrita and make sure that she is promoted before Bertrand finishes?
Sure, thanks, bro.
Thanks.
Why we got two of Bertrand areas here? Can you go through the run sheet and promote, please?
Hello. Light is a bit bright. Sorry about that. Let me share my. How do you share the screen? Up. Why can't I share the screen?
Bertrand, we are sharing the slides for you.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind.
No worries.
Yeah, I've got problems, security problems, it seems. Okay, so this is the Open Policy Meeting report. I'm Bertrand Charrier, freshly elected Policy SIG chairs. Thank you for your support. Next slide, please. So the Policy SIG charter, we develop policies that deal with member within the Apnic region. Not much else to say on it. If you want to participate, just join the mailing list as a start and express yourself. Next slide, please. Today at OPM 1 and 2, we had a report from Sunny with the policy implementation. We talked about the SIG and YANA Nrc elections as well, and we had a record of 7 proposals. Next slide, please. So proposal 135, 136, 137, 139, and 140 did reach consensus at OPM. Proposal 138 is to be a guideline, and this is not the latest slide. So let me get the actual one with the right text. Yeah, so Prop 137 did reach consensus, but has been sent back for clarifications because as is, it cannot be implemented by the EC. So we'll talk about this proposal again on the mailing list. So proposal 138 has been decided to be a guideline. Proposal 141 in its version 3 did not reach consensus, and so has been sent back to the mailing list for further discussions. And I think next slide, please. Yep, that's it for me for the Open Policy Meeting report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bertrand. And looks like we had a series of new proposers for Policy SIG, so thank you to them as well, running through it. As usual, we have the open mic after we finish this series of presentations, so Next, I would invite Amrita to present her report on the PDR working group.
Thank you, Gaurav. And Amrita, for the record, just give me a moment. I'll share my screen and hope you are able to view it properly. So it's an update from the Policy Development Review Working Group. This group was set up on the request of the Policy SIG Chair and the Apnic EC at Apnic 48 and 49. And subsequently, a policy document review report was presented by the Apnic Secretariat in Apricot 2021. The report highlighted a few operational concerns and few observations, 6 operational concerns actually. And there was a community discussion where the community decided or suggested that a group be created to look at this document further. And the objective of the working group was to deliberate and validate the observations and concerns and propose any policy changes if required. So this working group has 42 members. Mostly the collaboration happened online over email. The observations and operational concerns were reviewed, but 2 of them were parked, 2 operational concerns, as you know, the Secretariat said there were some developments happening on them. Subsequently, 7 policy documents were submitted by the working group members, but 2 of the proposals on the same operational concern was submitted by 2 of our members, and it was sent back to the working group for further discussion because it was a bit diverse, the responses, and 3 proposals went forward from the community. In terms of what our learnings were, is that we need to have or adopt more innovative ways to communicate with the community if we want responses, because due to the pandemic, everyone is hard pressed. People may not even have the time or know that there is a working group doing these activities, and that's what we found out. Also, perhaps break down the issues and share it with the community as to how it impacts them, so that we can get more feedback from the community, because many may not be able to write a policy, but even if they give a feedback, that's a great thing for us. So what we feel as a suggested way is perhaps if the EC and the community feel that the mandate of the working group can be extended to the next Apnic meeting, then we may possibly have a chance to deliberate on the balance operational concerns, come back with more proposals which may be beneficial for the community at large. And also use innovative ways, for example, have localized meetings in certain, conversations in certain countries or regions, so that, it aligns with their time and they can ask informally the questions. So that's about it. We look forward to your comments, suggestions, and inputs. And if the mandate is to increase the working groups extended, then we would love more community members to join the working group. That's all from me, Gaurav. Any questions? Happy to take.
Thank you, Amrita. We'll do questions at the end in the open mic, so I'll request all the presenters to stay on Zoom. And thank you to the working group, the PDR working group that was formed a while ago. Let's continue on with our presentations.
Gaurav, may I interfere, please? We have to put the proposals to the AMM consensus process. We are moving ahead. Yeah. I know we are running out of time, but we are moving ahead. Maybe we should go back and put those proposals for consensus.
No, we'll do that at the end, Sonny.
Okay,
I'm
thanks.
aware of that.
Okay, thanks, Gaurav.
I would like to get Joy to present the Cooperation SIG report.
Okay, thank you very much. I will be presenting. Okay. Does everybody see my screen? Okay, so this is a report for Cooperation SIG, and my name is Joy Chen, the chair for this special interest group. I think it's our honor to be able to participate in the Apnic 52. The charter is really that for this cooperation special interest group is a forum for discussion for the broader internet topic, public policy, internet governance, and everything else that's related to our community. And we want to feedback this position so that it's relevant to the public sector and with a community's position. This time, I think it's really for the first time for our special interest group, as probably as well as for the Apnic. We're talking about the internet's environmental sustainability, how ISP and the data center address the energy efficiency and environmental sustainability. So we have some best practice from the internet operations, and we connect the environmental expert. And then we have some dialogue to find the best areas that we can work as cooperate. And the stories are from India, Singapore, and Indonesia. So I always like to give my acknowledgement to our beautiful speakers. We have Michael Gingard, he's talking about autonomy and the risk management, the solution to keep the connectivity running. Rpki Garyati is from Indonesia. So he's talking about the solar data center, which I think is very, very interesting. And he shared a lot of things from the thermodynamics sustainability. And the trio, Momponi, she has wonderful presentation about the different alternative energy from the sun, from the wind, from the water. So for the remote connectivities, we have to utilize all the different resources we can get. And the Tenwi is from the Singapore National Supercomputer Center. And then we have, so his topic is really on the decarbonization. I think that's really the key word for this topic. So Jin Wang and Michael as the environmental expert, they raise questions and comments. So we have the a wonderful panel of speakers, very strong, very knowledgeable, and very professional. Some of the outcome and the comments is one, government policy. We want to make sure that the government policy can offer some incentive to the business and it can produce a model that's circulated economy model. We need effective communication, innovative, accessible, and effective language so that the awareness can be not just for everyone, but also much, much more to the upper and the horizontal. And it's really the opportunity for the change right now. And we also have come up to that building the model needs a lot of the community, the local community support together. So as this is the first time that we raise this topic in this Apnic 52, I'm sure that there's a lot of more discussion and comments that needs to be embraced. So we wish that we can invite everybody to continue in this topic, in the tribe, in our mailing list, also in the blogs. So with that, I want to conclude and with a lot of the thanks to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. As usual, excellent set of presentations in the cooperation SIG. Next, I would like to ask Aftab Siddiqui to present the routing security SIG report.
Thank you, Garda, for this opportunity. Let me share my screen. Just a moment, please. I hope you are looking at the right screen. Right, so moving on. Thank you, everyone who joined the SIG, Routing Security SIG. So myself, Aftab Siddiqui, is the chair. I have the opportunity to working with two amazing people, Dima and Rupesh Shrestha. As the co-chair, congratulations to Dima and Afifa for becoming the co-chair for the next meeting. And thank you for Rupesh for being such a helpful hand for last 3 meetings, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So we had this is a charter. It's a very long one. So I would encourage people to go to the web Apnic SIG website and they can read it. But our core focus is towards routing security and anything related to that. So we had our hour-long session. There were 2 presentations, one from Max Stuckey from Internet Society. He was presenting in ROA measurement tool. And then we had another presentation from Lorenzo Cugotti He has developed a open source MRT data reader called BGP Grab. So that was quite informative. And then we followed up from the last discussion we had in the previous routing security SIG meeting. So there were a few unanswered questions and some new questions. We had to brought that up. So there was some interactive discussion. But just to add, there were 104 attendees on Zoom. And last I checked, there were 100 views for the YouTube channel so far. So these are just outcomes and some actions for maybe for the community, and some are for the Apnic to update to the community back. So it was raised during the last time that there should be a mechanism for Rpki monitoring. Last time Apnic updated that there is an internal discussion happening. We haven't heard anything back from Apnic since then. So so the question is back to the Apnic. Hopefully we will get an answer from them. Then there was a discussion of ROA creation notification. As of today, there is no process of ROA notification when a ROA is created. There is one for the whois, but not for the ROA. So there were a few options. One was creating an opt-in function rather than by default notifying people and making a lot of email notifications, or creating a webhook so that it can be connected with Slack or Discord or anything people like these days. The third suggestion or the discussion point was that there should be an API for the ROA management. But before going into the API development and everything, Apnic should evaluate this and provide update on the cost analysis. That is it going to cost that much? Is it worth it? Then ask this question back to the community. So right at the end, it was a nice, lively discussion. We took a little bit more time than expected. But at the end, it was a nice outcome. So that was all as part of the routing security 6 session, and hopefully we'll have a next one in the Apricot in 6 months' time.
Thank you, Aftab. As usual, to the routing security SIG, one of our newest SIGs, and the 2 co-chairs. Congratulations to Afifa for being elected, and then Rupesh for being on the co-chair for a while. Thanks again, Aftab. The next presentation would be from Billy on the NIR SIG.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Billy. Everyone seeing my screen? Can you see? Are you?
Yes, Billy, we can see the folder.
Yeah.
Folder, only folder.
Yeah, you need, yeah.
Just double click on that presentation, or we can share it for you, Billy. If you stop sharing, we can share it for you, Billy.
Okay, yeah, I think it's better. Hold on for a sec. Yeah, I stopped.
Okay, it's coming up now.
Okay. So my name is Billy, currently acting chair of NIRC, and we had a NIRC meeting 50 minutes on this Tuesday. I appreciate usually, you know, my co-chair Jenu helped this meeting to happen, and contacted all the NIRs and encouraged people to participate, and collected all the materials. And also I'd like to thank Sunny Secretariat helping us a lot. And next chapter, I just want to, this is chapter of NIRC. And as chapter says, NIR has fulfilled its duty for the last 2 decades. We provide a stable service for our region, and currently actively we exchange informations, and I think we are doing great job so far. So next. Yeah, this time all the 7 NIRs participated and made the presentation. I also want to thank all the presenters. First, Arin Shubham mentioned Irene is enjoying growth of members, IP and AS numbers, and also they are actively providing trainings on Ipv6 and Rpki. And also, Kogi-san from Apnic shared the situation and COVID situation, and also Tokyo Olympic last month, which I pretty much enjoyed, and also shared the activities such as important activities such as JANOP 48 and the JP OPM as well. And also Apnic one introduced the NIR 2.0 and with the new system development and services. And also she introduced the Ipv6 development for especially government services. And also she mentioned she shared the cooperations with Apnic and other NIRs as well. And Apnic is highlighted the ROA coverage and also Ipv6 user availability. And CNIC also shared the IP and AS numbers statistics and also online trainings on Ipv6 and Rpki. Apnic also shared the IP and AS statistics and member service development, Rpki and Ipv6 development. KRLIC shared the IP ASN number statistics, and also they shared the work in cybersecurity area. Recently, the Korean government recently released the cybersecurity plan and national scale, the first half of this year, and which was I briefly introduced this plan with the other NIRs and asked the if you guys also interested, please reach me, and hopefully we can work together in the cybersecurity areas as well. And also we had a new chair, Madam Chair, and I have a strong feeling that she will lead well this SIG and make a better place for information sharing, and because she proved herself as a very able person for the last several years. And I want to congratulate again for her taking seat on this SIG. Okay, with this, I think I'm done with my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy, as usual, and congratulations to the new co-chair of the NIRC. And thank you to all the other presenters there. Now we will go through the AMM consensus, call for consensus for the policy SIG proposals that went through. So Bertrand, you are back on there, and the way it will work is Bertrand is going to put up a proposal there, and I'll call for consensus, and you will get a Zoom feedback screen where you can agree or disagree or stay neutral on the screen, and we can go over that process quickly. So Bertrand, let's get started.
Yes, thank you, Gaurav. So we'll start with Prop 135, documentation clarification. This proposal did reach consensus during the open policy meeting. So now we'll call for consensus during the AMM meeting. The poll is there. So please.
Prashant, can you just read the title of the prop when it comes up?
Okay.
This is the documentation one, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
the document one.
Yep.
Documentation. The objective is to change, to make the policy simple and easier for the community to understand and adapt, and remove duplications, if any. So there was a good consensus on this one. I don't see the.
Shall I keep it open, Bertrand?
No, you can close it. I don't have the counter on the screen, so I don't know how long it's been on.
Thank you. So this Prop 135 documentation has received strong support, minor, very strong support, and neutral 70% support. I would say that this has reached consensus in the AMM. Thank you very much. I think this is an output of the PDR working group. Thank you to them as well. Bertrand, the next proposal, please.
The next proposal is Prop 136, registration requirements, and it did reach consensus during the open policy meeting. The objective of this policy is to make the section of the policy more simple, concise, and easier for the community to understand and adapt, and remove duplication, if any. It's a proposal that was issued by the working group, so it's dealing with documentation, and they did a really, really good job. Sonny, for the poll, when it reaches 1 minute, you can close it, I think. Go up. You're up.
Okay, there you go. This is popped up on my screen as well. We have continued to have strong support for the Prop 136 registration requirement. So we declare that this has reached consensus in the MM. Thank you, everyone. Next one.
Next one is Prop 137. Ipv6 assignment for associate members. This proposal reached consensus during the open policy meeting, but we are sending it back to the mailing list because it cannot be implemented as is by the Executive Council.
Thank you, Bertrand. I think the EC has noted that the proposal is there. There is a desire for the community to simplify or make available some V6 addresses. So hopefully the next round of the proposal will have a slightly different approach to it. But the EC has received it, and personally, I think it's a good idea, though I'll wait for, the policy process to go through on that. Thank you very much for that, Bertrand. Next one.
Thank you, Gaurav. Next one is Prop 138, restricting ASID in Nro. This proposal has been moved to the guidelines, so there's no consensus for it. Prop 139, SOR not required. This proposal reached consensus during the open policy meeting. And the objective of this policy change is to avoid any unnecessary and rarely used process. So please express your opinions on this proposal.
Thank you, everyone. This proposal continues to have strong support. So Prop 139 has reached consensus in the AMM, and we look forward to that. Thank you. Next proposal, Bertrand.
It's Proposal 140, update end site definition. The objective of this proposal is to ensure that both end site and end user are defined in a more accurate way. And this proposal reached consensus at open policy meeting.
Okay, I see that Prop 140 continue to have strong support with some neutral. Based on that, I would say that this proposal has consensus in the AMM. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more.
Yes, we've got one more. Proposal 141 version 3. Change the maximum delegation of IPv4 address, from 512 to 768. This proposal did not reach consensus at the open policy meeting and has been put back to the mailing list for further discussions. And that was the last one.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything for the one that went to the mailing list. So thank you very much, Bertrand, and Policy SIG co-chairs. We look forward to the continued discussion on this, and also thanks to the policy authors. And I think a couple of these proposals came from the PDR working group, so thanks to them as well. Thank you, Bertrand. We move on next. Next I have for today is the open mic. We will open the mic, see if there are any questions or any comments or any suggestions. Please raise your hand. You can also open or ask questions in the chat, and we can go through that. I don't see any pending questions here on the chat, so we can go on to any open questions on the open mic. Okay, looks like we don't have any open questions today. Either we are exhausted or yeah, we have two questions. Has EC considered forming NOMCOM yet? I think the answer is yes and no. We've discussed this, but we also feel that this requires more elaborate community discussion. And if there is a strong sense of it, then we can probably kick off something in the coming meeting. This is the first time I think we had to do all of our elections virtually, and there are some considerations we are looking at, because it's true that when we had face-to-face meetings, there were a lot of sort of unwritten rules around, being in the meeting room, raising your hand, being part of the community. That is quite not obvious when everybody is on a virtual environment. But it is a continued topic of discussion after. And I would say that in our EC December meeting, it will be a topic of discussion. But I would also encourage some of that discussion on the mailing list. And like we always do at Apnic, if there is a interest, then we should probably set up a BOF to discuss the topic. Though I'm not so sure how effective a BOF is in a virtual environment. We can probably give it a go at the next meeting and go from there. There is a follow-up there will be election during next meeting. It's better to set some guidelines for next election if we don't set up NOMCOM. Understood. We have been discussing a few guidelines, updating our guidelines based on the experience from this election, especially the community elections of 6 years is something new for us. The Nrc elections, the Apnic EC elections, they have very well-defined procedures that have been established, and we didn't need to change them. But when it comes to the community elections, we are kind of, I think we're learning as we go. And I think we already received some feedback. What I can commit to is in the next 30 to 45 days, we can circulate an updated guideline that will be applicable for future elections as an update to what we had for this election. And maybe the discussion can continue on that on the Apnic top mailing list about it. Yep, after I've received mainly about community elections. So I think we need some feedback on that topic. It is not easy to kind of take something that we have taken for granted in a face-to-face environment to a completely virtual situation. And so we did a few things this time, and I think we will keep on improving on it. I can't really go, I don't think we want to discuss too much on this topic right now, but let's say, from the EC side, we would circulate the new guidelines very soon. And the process wise, it will first be circulated to the 6 chairs, all the existing 6 chairs, and the existing 6 chairs will discuss that. And then it becomes a policy in consultation with the EC. But what we can do is, before it becomes a formal policy, we can share it with all our community so that we can get additional inputs to it after that. There was another question about decarbonization. I actually need to know more about that project, but I think that is more of an offline discussion we can have from Pragya on that topic. Maybe that would be of interest for the foundation. But I think, yep, maybe that is something you can communicate with the EC, send some details, and then we can see what that means. Any other questions there? I don't see any other questions. Let's see. We are at Yep, 14:05. If we don't have any other questions on anything from the AMM today, then I would move on and ask Paul to give his vote of thanks. Paul?
Certainly, Gaurav. My pleasure. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the meeting. This is the time to express thanks to quite a few people who've been involved with supporting this event very generously as usual. Many sponsors. Without the sponsorship, this event would be more costly to members. The sponsorships are always very much appreciated from all the people who you see on the screen as premium sponsors and standard sponsors. Thank you sincerely on behalf of Apnic members and EC to all of the sponsors. To community members who have stepped up as chairs and co-chairs, Bertrand and Ching Heng, Billy and Shenyu, Joy and Bikram, Aftab, Dimar and Rupesh. Thanks to all of you for the work that you put in both at the meetings and between the meetings to keep the SIG processes moving along. I know it's a bit of work and that's really very much appreciated. Thank you. We had elections this time, and Kwo Wu, thank you for your service as election chair. Likewise, Champika and Mudvi as the scrutiny is for these elections. And congratulations to all the elected leaders. Dimar on the Nro Number Council, which is the ASO Address Council. Ching Heng on the IANA Review Committee. Bertrand as the Policy SIG Chair, and Shayla as the newly elected co-chair. Wan Nguyen as the SIG Chair for NIR, that is. Joy, re-elected as Cooperation SIG Chair. Congratulations. Afifa and Dimar as Routing Security SIG co-chairs. Congratulations. Thank you in advance to all of you for the work that you'll be doing to support these important committees and groups. Thank you. Really, thanks a lot to the community leaders who are outgoing from existing positions. From the NIR SIG, Billy, thank you for all your work over the time. Rupesh, thank you for acting co-chair as the routing security SIG, and Bertrand, your term not yet ended, but ended on the 31st of December for the IANA Review Committee. Thank you very much for serving your terms on that committee. A very special thank you here to Aftab. Aftab has been on the ASO Address Council since 2014, 6 years. He's been chairing the ASOAC. I think that's a big commitment. It's a huge credit to Aftab's abilities and his leadership to be re-elected as chair, not once, but twice. And I know Aftab took that job and that responsibility very seriously and put an awful lot of work into it. So Aftab, your term is ending at the end of 2021, but thank you very, very much from me, from Apnic, I'm sure from the community and the EC as well, for all your hard work for the ASO. Thanks a lot. For this meeting, Program Committee, Afifa, Philip and Sunny, thank you so much for chairing the Program Committee. The Fellowship Committee had a number of members and mentors and the fellows as well who joined us and who put a lot of work in over the last 6 months to fulfill their obligations as fellows. Thank you so much. Congratulations too for achieving what you've achieved. Thanks to the keynotes, the speakers and moderators for all sessions. My personal thanks to Apnic EC for their support, to Apnic staff for all the hard work that goes into this meeting, to the RAR colleagues and guests who joined us, and to everyone who's come along and been a part of Apnic 52. Thanks so much for joining us again online, the third time ever. We'll have at least one more of these online meetings, and no doubt definitely hope to see you all again next time around. Thank you very much. If you want to stay in touch with Apnic Secretariat and Apnic activities, here's how to do it. There's the blog. We're also always looking for guest posts for the blog, so please get in touch if you'd like to contribute. And by all of these social channels, that URL there, apnic.net/social, is your means to get to all of that social media goodness. Please stay in touch and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Back to you, Gaurav.
As usual, thanks to everyone who put in all the effort to make the event a success. I think it is pretty testament to the fact that just not us and the staff and the EC, but we've seen a continuous stream of people join through Zoom. And, you know, we are all probably getting the Zoom fatigue, but thanks for staying. Towards the end, I have a few things to reiterate, things that we've talked about before, and to also address some of the things that came up earlier in the open mic. I think the question of NOMCOM probably would want to put that in the survey as a starting point, even though we'll discuss it. So that might be a thing to do. And then we also would look at some of the other, you know, activities in the survey. Some things that have come up is we've invested a lot of time and effort on the Apnic Academy this year because obviously we are forced to. We had to pull through a lot of work on that topic because obviously the trainers could not travel. And we probably will see or want some community feedback on the effectiveness of that. Virtual trainings. I mean, I know nothing will replace face-to-face, but we would be keen to know what level of training and complexity can be delivered online and what would require to be face-to-face. Because even after we sort of go back to the end of the pandemic, it might not be normal for a while. I think we will have some regions which will move forward and some regions which will stay or, you know, slowly catch up. So we will probably need to continue with the combination of virtual and hands-on and face-to-face, a combination of hybrid events where there might be local groups connecting to the online groups and so on. So we look forward to some of those feedbacks and we'll incorporate some of these questions in the survey. So I look forward to the survey going out. I think that is going to be our biggest driver for the next few years. The other one that I wanted to give a sort of informal update is Apnic, the secretariat is growing. And one of the reasons we're growing is we had a, you know, as I think Paul updated earlier when it came to the foundation and the infrastructure fund, thanks to the White Project and John Morai-san, that we have a fairly large contribution towards internet development in the region. And we will continue to use it. That is a big opportunity for Apnic, but that also means that we need to upscale our infrastructure to support the infrastructure of the internet. So you might see some movement in that side. And we might take this opportunity where I think we'll need to reconfigure some of our offices to allow for more space and social distancing and, you know, sort of pandemic friendly environment. So we may be looking at enhancing that, and we'll keep the community informed of those activities on the EC. And then the third thing I was going to talk about, obviously, was there's a lot of open questions on the topic of Apnic. In some circles, it is very politicized right now. but I would urge anyone with any questions to come and talk to us, because between the Secretariat and the EC, we have been paying close attention to it. And I think the stability of the internet and the RIR system is very important for us. Of course, and then beyond that, Apnic has continued to support the various NOGs in the region whenever they happened, whether it is virtual or hybrid. Again, we can't really send people or staff, but if you've noticed on our website, the number of community trainers have gone up, and we've recruited more in recent times. And so I think whenever we can, there is a local NOG or other activities, and the local regulations allow, as there are no restrictions, then I think our community trainers would jump into that opportunity to connect with the community and work with the team in Brisbane remotely to perform trainings, present at a NOG, or in general work with the community. So look forward to some of that increased collaboration with our community trainers. Also, before I end, I want to give a big shout out to, again, back to all the staff in the office. It has not been easy. Like every one of us, all of us have had to adapt. And, I think we believe that the internet works, but there is things in the background that keep it working. And I can't thank enough for the Secretariat for keeping the lights on and making sure things operate without any disturbance or without any failure. And I think we have adapted pretty well, and we've gone pretty good. In fact, we have also got a bunch of new employees join us during this period, so it seems almost all normal. So thanks to all the staff once again, and obviously thanks to all the volunteers who keep everything working and going on, and also thanks to our NIRs and everybody. I mean, I don't think I have to repeat that this is not normal, so we just have to keep going. And as Paul said earlier and Philip said before the break, the next meeting is going to be virtual. We are not going to say that, oh, we'll try something. Our assessment is that by February, we will not be able to meet face-to-face in any reasonable shape or form. So we are not going to try. So it will be a virtual event in collaboration with our community in Bangladesh, and look forward to that. I wish we could go to Bangladesh, but without that, hopefully it's still a good event. We do not know what will be the condition 1 year from now. We are keeping an open mind to it, but we have a arrangement whereby we kind of tag, or like we kind of have a cycle of events between Apricot and the Apnic meetings, and we don't want to break it in the middle of the year. So most likely, if we do anything in person 1 year from now, we'll see. It might be a hybrid or it might be some other form. We don't know yet, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting. And then hopefully we can resume our cycle from going back to Vincent in 2023. So having said that, I know that we are coming to an end. Vincent always wants a selfie, so this is selfie time for everyone. Please take a selfie. And we'll do that. But having said that, EC members, please stay in a few minutes after we close. But thank you, everyone. I officially declare the Apnic 52 meeting over. Sunny, Sienna, you have anything to add there? Otherwise, we have closed the Apnic 52. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in about 6 months in Apnic 53 and Apricot 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Gaurav.
Wow.
Bye.
1, 2, 3.
Woohoo.
Paul disappeared.
Oh.
Where's Paul?
Paul's missing.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye.
So Archie, you have taken your selfie already, right?
Yeah, I